Good morning. My name's Jim, and today I want to talk about family associations. There is so much interconnectedness between our families. Uh, it's surprising. And what led us to think of, led Colleen and I think about this is that during these studies where we put out the recorders and we record their voices, sure, they answer some of our questions, but 80% is conversations between themselves. And they use each other's names, and often we get surnames, and most of those surnames are Irish. Surprising, especially here in Panama. It's all my group speaking. They all speak English, and everybody's got an Irish last name. So, of course, Colleen and I start to explore this subject. And it's these historic ties between families. For instance, the last name McLaughlin. McLaughlin. Now, it's spelled a couple different ways, but it all goes back to one tribe in Ireland. For instance, Colleen married an Italian fella, but her mother-in-law's mother was a McLaughlin. Colleen's mother-in-law's mother is McLaughlin. Everybody else is Italian on his side. But there's that one little thing, that little Irish thing going on there. Our grandmother's mother was a McLaughlin. Colleen and I, our grandmother's mother, was also a McLaughlin. My ex-wife is a McLaughlin. Off the boat, Irish passport, but they're all McLaughlins. So the McLaughlins and the Finnegans, somewhere way, way back in the day, had something going on. So this interconnection is what I'm going to explore a little more today. A few years back, I owned a couple restaurants called the Tiki Bars. My son ran the one location, and I ran the other one. April, things start to get busy. We're primarily outdoor seating, and that first Saturday, when it's 70 degrees at 7 o'clock at night, it's wall-to-wall people. I can't do this by myself. I need a lot of staff, and it's seasonal staff. So it's young people, teenagers. I went into that particular spring with just myself and my daughter-in-law, and she's great, but the two of us just can't handle hundreds of people at one time wanting to eat and drink. I was getting desperate. So Colleen was getting ready to do a study, and I asked her, Colleen, ask them, our relatives in the afterlife, ask those invisible people if they can help. And this is what they told her. Colleen says, can you send my brother employees? And a man replies, Jimmy's fixing to do that, meaning our grandfather. He's a big dog in the afterlife. Another man says, they're coming to him. Colleen repeats, can you send my brother employees? Two men said, yes, we can. Another guy says, yes, we have. And a neighbor says, more to come. And another fella adds, it has always happened. 2 weeks later, I have more teenagers walking into that restaurant looking for work than I've ever seen. And because of this study, I quiz them all. I mean, I'm the old guy, I can talk to these kids well. They all had Irish roots. They all had some kind of Irish tie. So here we have the Irish families all working together in the afterlife. Now, of course, most of those kids didn't stay. I mean, there's at least 50% turnover rate with teenagers, but hey, I got through the season. That's all that really mattered that year. But this connectedness really got Colleen and I thinking, how did our mother and father get together? If that Irish thing is in play. Our mother is Slovak. All her ancestry is Slovak. Great-grandmom was off the boat, Slovak. So was great-grandfather, from the same village in Czechoslovakia. So Colleen and I are scratching our heads trying to figure out, how did the Irish Finnegans get together with this Slovak family? Well, we get talking to our mother. She's 81 years old and kick your ass. Be careful. Our great-great-grandmother, last name Minarchik, was widowed after she had moved from Czechoslovakia to Iowa. Well, a fella by the name of McGill, and it turns out his first name is Mike. We didn't know that initially. Mike McGill took up with widow Minarchik. So now, all of a sudden, we have this tie. An Irish guy mixed in on the Slovak side. So, Colleen and I went in search of, and we found out that Mike McGill was friends with Peter Finnegan, the first Finnegan, our great-great-grandfather in America. So now, here we have this crazy tie together. Peter Finnegan and Mike McGill. Colleen asked, how did they meet? 3 different men said during the war. Another man just simply says Texas. That is absolutely true. Peter Finnegan was in the Marines during the Civil War, and Mike McGill was in the Navy. They worked together, those 2 branches. After the war, it is a fact that both of them drove water wagons in Texas. Now, I don't know what was going on in Texas in the 1860s, 70s about needing water wagons, but apparently it was a job that they both shared in Texas. Colleen, in another study, was asking about McGill. A man says, set up shop with grandma. There's only 2 men that could have said that. Either great Uncle George or great Uncle John. And Colleen and I knew both of those men. Good people. Colleen asked, who was it? Which was it, Uncle John or Uncle George? It was George. It was George that was in Colleen's house that day who responded to the question about McGill. Colleen asks, was the friendship between Peter Finnegan and Mike McGill responsible for setting up the marriage between her parents? A man says, yes, it would. Another guy says, yes, it can. And a third fella, yep, it is. I asked the same question down here in Panama, and I get the same responses. Just here, around me, they just use much more colorful language. They're very polite around Colleen. So there you have it. There's these family ties that go back. That tie between Peter and Mike and our parents, that was a gap of 4 generations. But 4 generations ago, 2 guys got together and reunited their families in our family. I think it's interesting. What's going on with your family? Hey, don't forget to subscribe, super important. And I'm getting ready to do a drinking video on Patty's Day. Check it out. Thanks. Have a good day.